Welcome to the Daily AI and Emerging Technology Market Intelligence Briefing. Here are today's key developments and the market implications, opportunities, and risks you need to know. So the most consequential development is the reported U.S. ban on foreign-made advanced robotic devices and power inverters. Could it restructure access to the American robotics and renewable energy markets?
The Federal Communications Commission reportedly covers network-connected machines weighing more than 4.4 pounds that sense their surroundings and can navigate or move on the ground, potentially encompassing humanoids, quadrupeds, industrial systems, and future robot vacuums, unless suppliers obtain waivers.
That's extraordinarily broad. The stated rationale is national security and public safety, but how certain are the implementation scope and waiver process?
They remain uncertain because the available evidence comes from a single secondary report, The Verge. Separately, the central operational weakness of enterprise agents is that models can follow the intended objective while violating the required procedure.
That distinction between objective and procedure matters. How does Covenant attempt to close that gap?
It converts natural language policies into an abstract syntax tree and control flow graph, then validates each proposed action before changing state. Across 120 cases covering 7 workflow scenarios, reported task success rose from 50.00% to 83.33%.
And what happened to workflow misalignment failures, given that successful completion alone doesn't prove procedural compliance?
They fell from 42.50% to 15.83%. These are research benchmark results, not evidence of production reliability, but the Covenant paper indicates deterministic control layers may matter more than additional prompting for regulated workflows.
That control argument arrives as the economic environment becomes less forgiving. What does Google's reported spending projection tell us?
The Verge reports that Google raised its projection from as much as $190 billion to $195 billion. $205 billion, intensifying concern about forecasting accuracy, infrastructure returns, and industry-wide data center financing.
Still, that's a single secondary account without the underlying earnings materials. What broader shift does the cited increase illustrate?
It suggests AI deployment is moving from a capability race toward a return on capital test. Meanwhile, more deployable systems are expanding AI's addressable use cases beyond hyperscale infrastructure.
How significant are Aletheia and the new LFM 2.5 encoders in that lower-cost deployment story?
Aletheia runs offline on approximately 3,630 megabytes of peak RAM. New LFM 2.5 encoders target document-scale classification on CPUs and report roughly 3.7 times faster long-context performance than ModernBERT-base.
Those claims come from the Aletheia paper and LFM 2.5 announcement and require independent validation. What governance controls are moving closer to development?
NPM is introducing automatic publish time malware scanning and dual-use metadata, while GitHub expanded Copilot app attribution across enterprise user and organization user reports. The NPM changelog and GitHub Copilot changelog don't quantify prevented incidents, productivity improvements, or financial returns.
Even so, they add mechanisms for governing rapidly expanding AI-assisted software activity. What should executive teams watch now?
Whether robotics restrictions become a narrow security control or broad market access barrier, and whether workflow compilers and smaller local models can reduce operational risk and infrastructure dependence.
Building on that governance question, Covenant reframes agent instructions as executable policy rather than advisory prompt text. How does its controller work action by action?
It evaluates one workflow node at a time, checks proposed actions and arguments against extracted requirements, and returns diagnostic feedback when rejecting a proposal, according to the Covenant paper.
And how strong is the quantified result compared with the other agent governance evidence supplied here?
The reported 33.33 percentage point improvement in benchmark success and 62.75% relative reduction in workflow misalignment make it the strongest quantified agent governance result in the supplied evidence.
Yet the evaluation covers only 120 cases. What important conditions remain untested?
The evidence doesn't establish performance under adversarial inputs, long-running production workloads, or changing policies. That limitation connects directly to software supply chain protection as AI-assisted development accelerates.
GitHub introduced several relevant controls. What exactly is changing for NPM and CodeQL?
NPM is adding automatic malware scanning when packages are published, together with a metadata requirement for dual-use packages. CodeQL 2.26.1 separately expands framework coverage and improves analysis accuracy.
The supplied excerpt doesn't quantify detection gains. Why do these controls still matter operationally?
Because faster AI-assisted software creation can increase both legitimate package volume and the number of artifacts security teams must evaluate, as reflected in the NPM changelog and CodeQL changelog.
Visibility matters alongside protection. What changed in GitHub's Copilot Usage Metrics API?
Individual app activity can now be associated with users in enterprise user and organization user reports. The supplied evidence doesn't specify the full metric schema or whether reporting supports outcome measurement.
Even with that caveat, how might more granular attribution help technology leaders?
The GitHub Copilot changelog suggests a better basis for identifying adoption concentrations, policy exceptions, and underused licenses. Specialized AI raises a different measurement challenge, particularly in debt collection.
DebtBench introduces persona-enriched debt collection negotiations to represent behavioral heterogeneity omitted by static, rational user benchmarks. How did DebtGPT perform?
The DebtBench paper reports that DebtGPT outperformed all tested open-source baselines and performed on par with GPT-4o across an evaluation involving 16 models.
But without exact scores, what conclusions can decision-makers responsibly draw about operational readiness?
Very limited ones. The supplied excerpt includes no exact score, sample size, customer outcome, or compliance assessment. So benchmark ranking alone doesn't establish readiness.
Aletheia offers another vertical system, this time offline clinical decision support. What was it built from and trained on?
It's based on Qwen 2.5 3B Instruct and fine-tuned with QLoRa on 27,000 samples across 50 East African disease conditions, according to the Aletheia paper.
And across its 10 representative case categories, what diagnostic performance and calibration did it report?
It reported 80.0% top 1 and 100.0% top 3 diagnostic accuracy, with 0.275 expected calibration error.
Scientific workflows extend that vertical trend. What does OpenAI's field report actually establish about coding agents?
It describes scientists using coding agents to modernize scientific computing software, including genomics, and claims acceleration in software development and discovery without quantified productivity, cost, reliability, or research outcome measures.
So its significance is directional rather than conclusive. What evidence should we look for next?
Independent replications, larger evaluations, production incident data, and proof that stronger benchmark performance translates into compliant decisions and measurable business outcomes.
That demand for measurable outcomes becomes especially urgent when regulation can reshape market access. How asymmetric could the reported robotics restriction become?
It could create immediate market access asymmetry between US-aligned suppliers and foreign manufacturers, particularly Chinese vendors, according to The Verge.
Which products reportedly fall within the covered categories, and how might renewable energy systems be affected?
The categories reportedly include mobile robots and networked machines meeting broad sensing and movement criteria, while the inverter provision may affect equipment used in solar arrays and other renewable energy systems.
Existing U.S. products appear to receive different treatment from new imports, and companies may seek waivers. What remains unclear?
The evidence doesn't clarify waiver approval standards or compliance costs. Meanwhile, AI's supply-side expansion is colliding with capital discipline.
Returning to Google, how much did the reported spending range move beyond its previous ceiling?
It increased to $195 billion, $205 billion from a prior ceiling of $190 billion, according to The Verge.
That analysis also describes investor concern about data center debt, competitive pressure, and model pricing. What qualification matters?
It provides no comparable figures for other hyperscalers. Nevertheless, vendors need stronger utilization and revenue evidence as infrastructure commitments grow.
At the application layer, software supply is expanding quickly. What were the reported first quarter figures for 2026?
Worldwide new app releases reportedly increased 60% year-over-year, with iOS releases up 80%. TechCrunch attributes at least part of that acceleration to AI coding tools enabling faster development and broader participation.
Because the underlying report isn't supplied, those figures are directional rather than independently verified. What economic shift do they suggest?
Software creation is becoming less scarce, while discovery, quality assurance, and differentiation become more valuable. Infrastructure efficiency is also improving outside general-purpose chat systems.
ModernBERT is one example. What scale, speed, and cost does AI2 report?
AI2 says ModernBERT can perform continent-scale inference in roughly 1 day, processing dozens of terabytes of satellite imagery for fractions of a penny per square kilometer.
And which applications does that support, given the absence of an independent cost comparison or customer impact measurement?
ModernBERT supports deforestation monitoring, food security, and wildfire risk. Separately, Liquid AI's LFM 2.5 encoders target lower-cost, always-on enterprise text processing.
What capabilities and hardware profile does the LFM 2.5 announcement specify?
The encoders extend context to 8,192 tokens and target intent routing, policy linting, PII detection, classification, and search on CPU hardware.
The developer reports competitive benchmark quality and approximately 3.7 times faster long context performance than ModernBERT-base. What should markets watch next?
Waiver decisions, hyperscaler utilization disclosures, per workload inference costs, and whether application growth produces durable revenue or merely greater competition for attention.
Those market questions lead back to operational risk. The same model may choose the procedure and perform the steps. How did Covenant's baseline agents fail?
They skipped requirements, took unsupported branches, or performed actions with unsupported arguments or effects. Its compiler and interpreter design reduced, but didn't eliminate, those failures.
A 15.83% residual misalignment rate would remain material in payments, healthcare, or other consequential workflows. Where's the opportunity?
Move enforcement outside the generative model and create machine-checkable policies, explicit state transitions, and repair feedback, as proposed in the Covenant paper.
Clinical edge deployment shows the same opportunity-risk balance. What did Aletheia demonstrate about constrained hardware?
It met a 7,168 megabyte benchmark memory constraint and used approximately 3,630 megabytes at peak inference, showing offline operation is technically feasible on constrained hardware.
Yet 0.275 expected calibration error complicates the accuracy story. Why?
Confidence quality isn't equivalent to reported top-1 accuracy, and evaluation across 10 representative categories is narrower than real clinical diversity.
What crucial governance and outcomes evidence is missing from the Aletheia paper?
It doesn't describe prospective trials, clinician oversight, patient outcomes, or regulatory authorization. DebtGPT presents a similar opportunity-risk balance in an explicitly high-stakes setting.
Persona-aware negotiation could improve performance where customer circumstances and behavior vary. What doesn't its benchmark comparison tell us?
Although DebtBench reports parity with GPT-4o and superiority to open-source baselines, it provides no exact financial recovery, interaction experience, fairness, or compliance results.
So deployment would require controls beyond benchmark rank. How does commercial evaluation create a separate intellectual property risk?
RunLayer alleges Rippling used information shared during an approximately year-long MCP gateway trial to build a competing product. Rippling confirms it's launching a gateway but denies misusing RunLayer's intellectual property.
Those are contested allegations reported by one secondary source, TechCrunch, not adjudicated facts. What practical safeguards does the dispute highlight?
Scoped source code access, clean room boundaries, audit trails, and enforceable trial agreements when vendors demonstrate agent infrastructure to technically capable prospects.
Supply chain defenses offer a nearer-term operational opportunity. Which controls can move earlier into software delivery?
Publish time NPM scanning, dual-use metadata, and updated code QL coverage can add earlier controls, while Copilot's expanded app-level attribution can improve visibility into who uses agentic tools.
None of the GitHub NPM, GitHub Code QL, or GitHub Copilot announcements quantifies prevented incidents or productivity gains. What evidence deserves priority next?
Residual failure rates, human escalation behavior, independently measured outcomes, and contractual controls around enterprise evaluations.
With those unresolved risks in view, let's sharpen the watch list. Why could waiver policy become as economically important as the robotics prohibition itself?
The reported 4.4-pound threshold and broad definition of sensing, network movement may cover many products, while The Verge's secondary evidence leaves enforcement timing, grandfathering, security remediation requirements, and affected product lists unresolved.
Capital intensity is another immediate concern. What benchmark does Google's reported spending range establish?
Its $195 billion, $205 billion range raises the benchmark for revenue, utilization, and margin justification.
And what would distinguish a company-specific forecasting change from an ecosystem-wide escalation?
Upcoming disclosures from other infrastructure-heavy companies, although the supplied Verge evidence contains no comparable figures, will be important for making that distinction.
Executable agent governance also remains central. What should decision-makers infer from Covenant's 33% benchmark success rate?
It supports closer evaluation of workflow compilers, interpreters, and external action validators, while distinguishing constraint enforcement from model intelligence.
Because the architecture covered 120 cases, what limitation must remain explicit?
It improved conformance, but didn't demonstrate complete reliability or production-scale performance. Local and CPU inference similarly offers promising, still developer-reported results.
How do Aletheia and LFM 2.5 represent two distinct routes toward lower infrastructure deployment?
Aletheia's approximately 3,630 megabytes peak RAM targets offline clinical reasoning, while LFM 2.5's reported 8,192 token context targets high-volume enterprise classification and routing.
And what determines whether those developer-reported results have genuine operational value?
Independent accuracy, latency, safety, and total cost testing, as required for both the Aletheia paper and LFM 2.5 announcement.
Domain infrastructure broadens the picture. How do HumanoID and OpenAI point toward end-to-end scientific workflows?
HumanoID reports continent-scale processing in roughly 1 day at fractions of a penny per square kilometer, while OpenAI describes scientists modernizing scientific computing, including genomics, without quantified productivity or discovery outcomes.
Software production economics completes the watch list. What do the reported release figures imply, despite the missing underlying dataset?
First quarter app releases grew 60% worldwide and 80% on iOS, indicating rapidly expanding software supply, while GitHub's publish time scanning and expanded Copilot attribution address artifact security and adoption visibility.
Yet their effects on quality or commercial differentiation remain unquantified. What's the short, forward-looking focus from here?
Watch regulatory implementation documents, independently reproduced benchmarks, production incident disclosures, realized infrastructure returns, and evidence that domain-specific systems improve outcomes rather than only intermediate technical measures.
That concludes today's daily AI and emerging technology market intelligence briefing. Thank you for listening. Join us next time as we continue tracking the innovations shaping technology, business, and global markets.